Welcome to the 12th installment of Top Trademark Trends for the year. We are covering the year that just ended, 2021, and we will also at the end include a brief preview of what 2022 might have in store. The biggest story of 2021 is the Trademark Modernization Act, and it just went into effect a couple of weeks ago on December 18th, 2021, but it was passed in the COVID relief bill at the end of 2020, and the regulatory process took all of 2021, and now it has just gone into effect. And I want to tell you about the key elements of that Trademark Modernization Act, or TMA. The first thing is that it codifies the letter of protest procedure, which allows in some circumstances for third parties to file a notice with the Patent and Trademark Office during an examination to try to bring light to an issue that should be considered during the examination. The second key aspect of the TMA is that it will shorten the time period for responding to office actions from 6 months to 3 months by default. And there will be an extension available for a filing fee due to the USPTO. And this provision, which could wreak havoc on law firms and docketing systems, but importantly, this provision will not go into effect until late 2022 in December this year. The third and probably most wide-ranging impact we will see from TMA is the provisions to allow for challenging registrations based on a lack of use. An expungement proceeding allows for the challenging of a registration in whole or in part between 3 and 10 years old if that mark has never been used in commerce. And this is a new, more streamlined challenge proceeding. And the second type of streamlined challenge that was created by the TMA allows for challenging a registration within 5 years of issuance on the grounds that it was not used when the owner basically said it was being used. So it wasn't used at the time it was applied for or the time that an allegation of use was submitted. The purpose of these expungement proceedings are to try to help clean up some of the deadwood or mistakes or bad registrations that are on the register and clog it to the detriment of everyone and to the detriment of applicants who are trying to get marks approved that could be refused based on marks that aren't really being used. So we'll have to see what the impact brings this year. Those proceedings, again, just went into effect within the last couple of weeks. Other news in our top trends of 2021, unfortunately, for the umpteenth year in a row, is that trademark scams continue. And while there was some positive news on the scam front, in that there was at least one sentencing in a criminal case of a scammer, the unfortunate news is that the scams continue to go out, continue to proliferate, and continue to impact trademark filers and owners in new ways. Mail, email, text message. Even now we have some scammers impersonating attorneys, filing things, or we have some scammers setting up trademark services that may never exist and never actually appear to file applications, or that are filing fraudulent applications with bad information, bad evidence. So this is a real problem. I am pleased that the USPTO is doing some things to crack down, but I would love to see them do more. You can read a lot more about that in my article that was published by the ABA last year or on my isthisatrademarkscam.com website. Another big trademark development this year was Facebook's announcement of the Meta brand. I'm still not exactly clear what the use of the Meta brand will be going forward. It's not replacing Facebook, and it's also not merely a holding company like Google has the name Alphabet. That's really the holding company of various Google properties and related companies. Facebook does appear to be using Meta already, but their major announcement came with some potential problems from other brand owners who have used Meta names. And that remains to see whether there'll be litigation or how that may play out. And it led to a major rush of filings of others trying perhaps to play off of the popularity of the word Meta. And it led to dozens of filings in the last part of 2021 for names that included Meta or Metaverse. In a related development, 2021 was the big surge in filings of NFT, also sometimes referred to as Metaverse, trademarks. That filing numbers really exploded, believe it or not, almost 10,000% between 2020 and 2021 in terms of filings that mentioned NFTs or non-fungible tokens at the USPTO. And major brands are now getting into the NFT space. Many more will follow. That's going to also be a big story to see in 2022, and a big story to see how trademark law interacts with this NFT and metaverse space, and how trademark registrations should best describe these products and services, since they're, different from what we've seen before. They're not tangible goods. They're a digital product and or service, and it can be hard to describe exactly what one would protect to protect a brand in that metaverse. So that's something I'm watching out. And then finally, another story, big story from last year, was this continued surge in US trademark filings. The USPTO trademark filings looks like they just edged above the numbers in 2020 with the total filings in 2021. And that means that 2021 was another record year for filings. Many of them from China, but many from the United States and elsewhere as well. And this has led to a backlog at the USPTO. We're currently seeing new applications take at least 7 months before they get reviewed and acted on by an examiner. And that's really double what they used to take just a year or two ago. And so we're continuing to see how this backlog has trickle-down effects on all aspects of operations for applicants and for the USPTO. The filing increases seem to have slowed, especially in the last half of 2021. So that's another thing that we're watching into 2022, is to see, will the growth continue to slow? Will there actually be a drop in filings, or will it go back up and continue to grow? Regardless, just the filings from the last 2 years will lead to a busy and backlog for quite some time to come, regardless of what happens with growth going forward. So that's the year 2021 in review. Looking forward to 2022, I really already dropped a couple hints there in terms of how the TMA and those new expungement proceedings will play out, in terms of what the metaverse and NFT story will play out, and what the filing surge and whether it will continue to grow and surge, or whether we'll see that really come to a halt and what the ramifications will be there. Finally, always monitoring what's happening with fraudsters and scammers. What are the new ways that they're contacting people and trying to scam them? And hopefully some new ways that we'll see the USPTO and other government agencies work to crack down on those. A couple other things we're looking for in 2022 is the USPTO is going to have a new login ID requirement, which may help with some of the scammers, but I don't really see that having too much of an impact. It will be a bit of a burden on filers, particularly filers who submit applications without attorneys. And the USPTO has announced that they're planning to go to digital certificates by default, meaning they will no longer send a paper registration certificate at the end of the process unless the registrant requests one and pays an additional fee. Now, this is a pretty big development, not because losing the paper certificate is such a big deal, although I think they're wonderful, frameable pieces to represent a brand and its protection, but because the USPTO will be saving lots and lots of money by not sending out the paper certificates. And I would like to see and know more about what they plan to do with all of those savings. Hopefully they will invest in combating scammers, dealing with that backlog, and new IT measures to help all users of their systems and applicants have a better, more cohesive, easier time filing and dealing with all the USPTO systems online for trademarks. So those are my 2022 look aheads. If there was a big story or an upcoming development that you think I missed, let me know in the comments, drop me a line, and you can always read more about the ongoing developments on my social media or my blog at ericpelton.com.